This is Logical Logistics, where we cover shipping, supply chain, logistics, and everything in between. Welcome to the show. Hello, everybody. It's Joe Becht, and it's another edition of Logical Logistics. This week we have more questions, and I want you to keep those questions coming at BECHT, the number 5 at Comcast.net. Thank you ahead of time for everyone who has sent in questions. So let's get right to it. Finnegan, that's an interesting name. Finnegan, his question is, what is with the music? And I know last week's episode was just straight music. Nevertheless, I like music. But there was a couple reasons why I chose these three artists. They passed away in 2015 to 2016. I chose Stone Temple Pilots because Scott Weiland passed away. And Stone Temple Pilots was one of my favorite bands to listen to when I was doing long drives to central and southern Illinois, especially the Purple album. Just great accompany music for doing long drive deliveries. So that's why I chose them. The other one was David Bowie, who I've always been a huge fan. And he means a lot because he constantly changed and evolved. And in logistics and shipping and supply chain, you have to constantly change and evolve. So yes, there is a method to my madness there. And last but not least, I picked Lemmy and Motorhead. I'm a big fan of Lemmy and Motorhead. I just chose him because I'll tell you what, the dude traveled with his guitar and the clothes on his back. Talk about traveling lightly and fast supply chain and logistics. This guy moved and toured the world, packing as little as possible, and he just made some great music. The guy was just outstanding performer. So that's why I chose the music. Finnegan. Ryan asks, should we be concerned about Amazon? And I think this was asked in the last question episode, but it's come up so much because of Amazon making their foray into logistics. Should we be concerned? Obviously, yes. It's a huge company. They purchased planes. They have the same day delivery. They're doing it for pennies. Who really knows what type of profit margin they're shooting for? But they are out there. Is it a threat? Is it an opportunity? It could be an opportunity for smaller logistics companies to jump onto the Amazon platform. Maybe if you could become an Amazon delivery person, it's worthwhile. I think it's a huge threat to the larger players out there, the UPSs and FedExes, especially with the airlines and everything. But yeah, they're going to be a big player, and I think I said this before. Walmart is. There's rumors Walmart's going to make an attempt to get into it as well. Darcy asks about a company called Doorman, and I know quite a bit about Doorman. I actually visited with their founder and visited their initial facility in San Francisco. I don't exactly know where they're at now, and I know they are trying to venture out into Chicago and New York City as well. I've tried to have him on the show, cannot get an interview. There's a lot of reluctance about the interviews. That goes back to my music one, too, because there's a company out there that ships just for rock bands, and I know this was addressed on my insurance episode a few weeks ago, and I would love to have them on because I just find it so fascinating that their core business is shipping the instruments and stage productions for huge rock bands, Madonna, Kiss, you name it, and they're out there and they're shipping for them, and that's huge logistics, and it just interests the heck out of me. But they don't want to come on and interview, and the people at Doorman do not either. It's interesting, when I met Doorman in person a few this was about a year and a half ago. I actually saw them break down their deliveries, and if you're not aware of what they do, or their business model, they were on Shark Tank, and the concept is they act as a doorman. So if you have a UPS or FedEx shipment that needs a signature and you're not going to be home, you can subscribe to Doorman, and they will deliver to your home at your specified time, depending on what type of service you have subscribed to. And when I saw them, they were all gung-ho. They moved out the deliveries fairly quickly in the San Francisco area. It was broken down in the Castro area, and then they broke out into the city itself. They had some very sharp-looking logistics software, and it's very software-driven, and I know they are driven by getting investors. Now, when I asked about what type of billing and growth they've had and profit margin, they skirted the question, and it became kind of I think it's a valid question, but they changed the subject, did not want to answer what they're doing, so that always makes me skeptical, especially out there. In the Silicon Valley, where sometimes it appears that profit is really not a driving force. It's more about investments and technology, and so I don't know. I don't know how they're doing. As I said, I wanted to ask them on the show. I've asked them several times. I know two of the people that work for them fairly well from a business aspect, and they won't come on the show. So, Doorman's out there. How are they doing? Couldn't tell you, but when I asked them about hard numbers, profits, gross volumes, they wouldn't even talk to me. So, there you go. But, you look at what, has happened to Uber with their record loss, but they're going to stay in business. Who knows? I mean, it's just mind-boggling what they do. So, talking about Uber, it's interesting because a guy named Phil emailed me, and he just wants to know if we're going to have an episode where we're going to interview the nuts and bolts people that drive the logistics industry, the delivery driver. Well, I have a delivery driver on as a guest, and yes, I'm going to have a delivery driver, and I'm also lining up driver for one of the companies like Lyft or Uber too. I'm obviously not going to answer. I don't want to get these guys in trouble, but yeah, we will talk to them. It's going to be an anonymous interview. It should be quite interesting because there's some good stories out there. I used to do deliveries, and I had some good stories. So that's definitely in the works, and it's going to be sooner than later. Aaron wants to know what I think about the upcoming election. Man, I don't know. It's, you know what? Life is becoming too much like reality television, and I just look at the news and the election that's coming up and just shake my head and wonder how we've gotten into this spot. So that's all I am going to say. Jason wants to know about the latest TSA program. And Jason, I am sorry to say that because this is a media outlet, I cannot talk about it. I've wanted to have TSA on. I'm eventually going to have someone from the TSA on. I don't know how much they can talk about the program, but I know this upcoming program cannot be released to the media, and I count as media, so I can't talk about it, and I can't interview anybody about it. I did have one gentleman in mind who knows the upcoming program very well, and he said, well, how are we going to skirt around the media problem with the TSA? And I said, okay, well, I guess we're not going to have that show. Finally, Alan emails us a question about career advice, and what should he go into if he wants to get into logistics and supply chain. Um, it's interesting, Alan, and everybody else out there that's interested in that. I think the insurance episode we had was great. I'd like to have those guys on again regularly from Roanoke. I think it's definitely a career path that is something that can be looked into, and I think it's very important that I think I see a lot of job opportunity for younger people out there. I also know that there are, and this was addressed in one of the first 5 episodes, but there are some really good supply chain master's degrees out there. I know Santa Clara University has one, and I'm hoping to get them on as a guest too. But anyway, there's some great supply chain masters programs out there. I know one gentleman personally who got his MBA and then a supply chain master's, and he's doing very, very well at one of the top 5 retailers in the world, and he has a great job and does very well, and does some pretty cool stuff with travel and promotions and everything. So that's something to get into. Another thing, and that was addressed, I know when I had back in March, I had a guest on from Boston. Today's who was airport courier in Boston. He has a customs brokerage license, and we talked about it. I've also had a customs broker on too in the Chicago area. One of my previous guests. I'll tell you what, I believe that's something that is a very good career move. It's not easy, and as we've been told before on this show, it's a difficult test, but once you pass it, it's well worth it. So definitely customs broker. Definitely international experience is definitely something that more and more people need to get into. International business is a definite plus, I believe, into logistics and supply chain. Learn another language, and I'm telling you, I know it's difficult if you don't speak it frequently, but just if you can try to get, I really see avenues as far as language, obviously Spanish, but Chinese and Arabic are going to be so important to the supply chain and logistics world. To know those languages will be of the utmost importance. And I personally see a lot of freight coming from obviously from China, because so much manufacturing is happening there. A lot from the Middle East countries. Still tons of growth in the Middle East, and who knows with the climate there and the military presence there too. I've seen some interesting requests as far as that too. I know there's a grave element of danger in some of those areas, but the need is there. Military experience too. I think the military, you can't go wrong going into the military, but I would get your college degree and somewhat try to coordinate it to where the military can pay for your college degree or help you out with that, give you some assistance, become an officer, and learn true nuts and bolts logistics, travel the world. And obviously there is a huge element of danger there, but there's also a huge upside too about going into the military, in my estimation, if you do it properly, and that's in coordination with a college degree. And of course, this is all my opinion. I'd like to thank everyone for the questions. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. We love the questions. I read them. My producer, Ant, reads them as well. And we just really love hearing from you guys. So keep us up. Give us reviews on iTunes, please. Give us feedback. We need reviews on iTunes. Keep the downloads coming. We love doing the show. We want to keep on doing the show. We're going to do the show no matter what. We're going to do the show if we got one listener, because it's just fun for us. It really is. The guest situation, it's interesting. We go in spurts where we get 5 guests in 1 week, and we got to spread it out, and then we have a dry spell. And some people are really really happy to talk about what they do in the industry and be a guest on the show, and other people are just quite reluctant. I think some of it has to do with job security and what they are limited as far as what they need, what they can talk about with their job, and other people just don't want to talk. And I get that, but I like talking. I like doing this. I like interviewing people. So thank you for all of the previous guests. Thank you once again for the questions. And thank you for listening to Logical Logistics. This is Joe Becht, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. If you want to drop us a line, email us at becht5@comcast.net. You can leave comments, or if you want to be a guest, becht5@comcast.net. Also, make sure to review us on iTunes or other media outlets that we're located on. And we'll see you next time on Logical Logistics.
Click the subscribe button for new videos every week and download us and review us on iTunes. Visit www.beslogistics.net for more logistics, transportation, and warehousing resources. Thanks for watching.